I'm Julie Saunders.
I'm Jan Wilson. Julie and I both have experience as school librarians, and we've worked together as district library leaders.
In each episode, we'll dive into our profession with interviews and meaningful content to inspire you. We're not experts,
but we're pretty close.
The ideas and opinions shared by any host, guest, or listener are their own and do not represent those of any respective school district.
Welcome to Library Exchange. This episode is sponsored by Mackin. For over 40 years, Mackin has provided pre-K through 12th grade libraries and classrooms with access to over 4 million printed and digital fiction and nonfiction titles.
The 26-time multi-award-winning digital content management system, Mackin Via, along with divisions Mackin Library, Mackin Classroom, Mackin Maker, Mackin Learning, and the brand new whole school resource management system, Mackin Vision, help to create a truly unique and robust educational resource company that schools and educators have relied on year after year.
For more information, visit mackin.com today.
Welcome, everyone. Jan, I know we just read our episode sponsorship, but you have a special shout out to a few sales representatives.
I do. And you know I love a good shout out. A few of our book sales reps heard about our June episode. That was with librarian Jennifer Matthews at the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, and they generously donated books. So her students love graphic novels, as all students do, but especially her deaf students because ASL is a visual language. Anyway, we want to say thanks to Kevin Tushel at Bound to Stay Bound, Jim Boone at Capstone, and Mark McMullen from Permabound for your book donations.
This is great timing because Jennifer just received her box of graphic novels and sent us a photo just today.
Yeah, the photo was cute. They'll enjoy those. So it's great to start the episode, Julie, with such a positive story. So let's take that right into the introduction of our guest.
Jessie Storrs is the teacher librarian at El Centro Junior Senior High School in the Sacramento Youth Detention Facility.
Jessie was named a 2024 finalist by School Library Journal for School Librarian of the Year.
She was recently announced as the Sacramento County Office of Education District Teacher of the Year 2026.
And I read online that she is affectionately known as Miss Stories. I'll have to ask Jessie about that. But I did see you nodding. Jessie, welcome to Library Exchange.
Hi, thank you guys for having me so much. I'm excited to be here today.
So we understand that your library is inside a juvenile hall. Can you tell us about your space there and give our listeners an idea of the number of students and staff you work with each day?
Yeah. So yes, we are a high school library located inside a juvenile hall. We are a partnership between the school district and Sacramento County Probation. Originally, the library was started by Sacramento County Probation, and I'm happy to say when I came in, it was gorgeous. It just was changing hands. And like all librarians, I was the hand it was given to. And so I took this library and infused it with some of me and some of what it was and built upon how great it already was and just entered a little bit of my quirky personality. We deal with, over 100 staff and students, residents. We do call our people who reside in the juvenile hall, we do call them residents. And so currently we have under 100 residents and staff all serving at the juvenile hall.
How long have you worked there?
I have been there for 4 years and a handful of months. My 4th year anniversary was July.
Okay.
I actually went from a public school setting to the juvenile detention facility.
Jessie, you didn't address Miss Stories. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
They call you that.
That was a name that came with me. I was at public school and a substitute teacher accidentally called me Miss Stories. And I had this epiphany and I just fell in love with it. Whenever we got new kids at school, it was a 6 through 12. I would just say, I'm Miss Stories.
Oh.
And I continued to perpetuate this brand. And this was at a time when I was dressing like Miss Frizzle every day. I had the theme Like I would wear all panda outfit. I wasn't dressed like a panda, but I would have a panda dress and like panda necklaces. And so I had this whole thing going on just to allow these kids to kind of have that like weird quirkiness in their lives.
Right.
And they really took to it.
Well, it's a great nickname. It's
Thanks.
fitting for a teacher librarian, you know?
I thought so too.
Yes. So, Jessie, we understand that you incorporate board games into your library program. So, how do board games impact your residents?
Board games, I want to start with saying that they came at a time in my life when I was having a really hard time socializing. I sort of came to the table, so to speak, with board games, and they were taught to me by some mentor teachers. They said, "Hey, you really shine when you're gaming." And we're not talking Monopoly or Sorry. We're looking at what I call Catan style games because that is a more colloquial term. So pretty medium to heavy tabletop strategy games. Catan, Ticket to Ride, a lot of big names there. So when I came to the youth detention facility, I had already started at my last school incorporating board games, but I felt like teaching them here would be really beneficial for the students' social emotional growth and also some of their emotional resilience. And so I started with permission from probation and with my partners, I started doing board games in the classroom, and now we have a full-fledged program.
I love how you've incorporated SEL skills with the gaming. So in a previous conversation, you mentioned a card game called CuBirds. What type of skills are the residents learning from playing that particular game?
Well, each one of my games does have to meet a standard. In this case, this does meet California listening and speaking standards. But when we're talking about social emotional learning, we are working really hard to work collaboratively in a competitive environment. We're working really hard just learning the game itself and being very resilient and purposeful with learning the game. It's a difficult game to learn, but an easy game to play. And so this was one of my depth of knowledge 3 or 4 games that I introduced a while back. It's one of the hardest games my kids have learned. And it tends to frustrate them at first. And then when they get into the rhythm of it, they get this really great feeling of accomplishment that they have done something really advanced for themselves. The other thing is it is a game that relies very heavily on honor system, which means that we are learning not to cheat at cards.
Right. Also, decision making, it sounds like, from what I've heard about this game.
Responsible decision making is one of our core CASEL competencies, and that is definitely one of them. If you haven't played CuBirds, it is a game developed by Pandasaurus. It was donated to us. I cannot remember the donor. Please forgive me. We started playing it, and it took off. Next week, we're starting a tournament.
Oh,
wow, great.
Yes.
Love that.
I would imagine in addition to the honor system, are we talking about building trust? Is that one of the things that we're working on in this game?
I would say trust and accountability. Mm-hmm. I've had conversations with residents before where they are they are saying, we would, in their own way, they're saying, we would prefer you, friend, do not cheat while we are playing this game. Mm-hmm. I'm taking this game very seriously. And there's a nice conversation that goes into this because they do want to achieve this game organically. And because it is kind of a high risk, high chance strategy game, it works out really well in that way. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah. Great. How do you choose the games that you implement or that you teach your students?
That is a really great question and one that I struggle with. I have to choose games that I can very easily count in and out pieces for safety and security. They have to be able to be taught in 10 minutes or less. And their gameplay time has to be between 20 minutes and a half an hour. They may not include dice, as dice are considered contraband. However, if I do use a dice popper, that seems to be very popular and does work. I have to also be accountable, once again, for all of the pieces. So I do need to be able to count everything in and put it away safely before the next class comes in.
Okay. I would imagine since you found so much success with the gaming with your students that you have some ideas of how to expand. Have you thought of any other ways to expand this program?
I have opened up the program to staff and faculty, so our non-resident adults. And we do have Game Club every Friday, which has been a really popular community building for our teachers and our staff. When I say staff, I am speaking of probation staff, our sworn probation staff. I have a lot of buy-in from most of the non-resident adults who work in the hall. And I really find that it does bring us closer together, especially if they're being introduced to something they might not have been introduced before. And some of that includes really wacky card games with birds on them.
You would fit right into our department.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
I think, can I just say just make a comment? I think it's very interesting that even in a unique situation that librarians nationwide, no matter who we've talked to, relationships and building relationships has been the central theme of almost every librarian we've talked to.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But you would fit into our department, Jessie.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm flattered.
Yeah, there are some who take the gaming a little more seriously than others, and I'm not going to mention Julie's name. That might be a little competitive. Oh, Jessie is too.
I am.
If you ever find yourself in Georgia, okay? Let's switch to talk about your collection, your library collection there. About how many books do you have? Do you have DVDs and other types of resources for your residents?
This is so hard because I do want to talk about games all day.
Okay.
I do. We have a very large collection. It might not be as large as most, but it is quite a lot of books. Currently, I've cataloged over 3,000. By cataloged, I mean I have them tagged and numbered with their bibliographic information. There are way more books than that. I am cataloging as I go. I do not use an electronic library management system because it is actually not a good fit for a youth detention facility because of the amount of turnover that we have with our patrons. So we have, I'm going to estimate upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 books.
Okay.
And I want to say maybe 2,000 DVDs and 50 plus board games.
So we know that you have a healthy budget. Even with that, do you have any types of challenges in providing books for your students?
Very much. Again, our district, there's no problem with access. Our district provides, and they provide well. We also have donors through the probation side of things who donate. And so I actually just purchased $1,500 worth of manga.
Oh, great.
It was a lot of manga. And when it comes in, I'm going to need help taping that.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me to my challenges. We are not allowed to have hardback books. And so library bound, perma bound, those unfortunately cannot be used. You can imagine the amount of damage, even though our students are residential and live in the juvenile hall, there's still a lot of wear, especially with well-loved books. There's a joke going around that if it looks like crud, it means that it's
a good book.
Yeah. The turnover of books is almost as difficult as the turnover of students and residents. The other one is our students are incredible readers and are very, very demanding. Our residents and students, they consume, I want to say that I check out about 70 books per day.
Wow.
And I check out books 4 days a week.
Okay.
3 periods a day.
That's a lot of reading that's happening.
It is quite a lot of reading.
Compared to the numbers you gave us. Wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there's a big amount of disappointment if we don't have the next in the series or if we're missing something or something maybe got thrown in the toilet by accident.
Right.
It does happen. Oh, heaven forbid we're missing a manga in the set. The disappointment is just, and I've always had a hard time not being able to provide a book for a student or a resident. To me, it's like a knife in the heart every time I don't have one. And I'm like, I try to remember when I was a librarian previously at a different school and I didn't have anything. So I'm just like, it's okay. So getting books to the students quickly before they get released, making sure they leave with a library card so they can continue their series once they get released. And then, of course, the damage that comes with the territory.
So a lot of libraries, traditional and unique situations like yours, are unable to do field trips like we did when we were growing up. They just can't do that. So they'll bring virtual field trips in. If you do that, can you explain some or one that you have done with your students that you enjoyed?
Sure. Yeah. The cool thing about virtual field trips is that you don't have to go anywhere that normal people can go. I noticed a huge love of the book series I Survived. I started creating I Survived style field trips. One of the favorite I Survived books is I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic. Around the time of the Titan submersible disaster, I saw an uptick in interest in the Titanic. And I've always been a huge Titanic nerd. And so having gone to the exhibition when I was about their age, I wanted to see how it translated. I built a virtual field trip around the Titanic. I actually did pay with my own money. Each class could do a virtual tour of the Titanic exhibition in Las Vegas. It's a 2-hour lesson, maybe sometimes over if I get a little bit too nerdy. We discussed the Titanic, what it was, survival stories, lots of stuff. And then we go and we see virtual artifacts. And if you haven't looked at the exhibition online, it's really neat. It's obviously not as cool as going yourself, but when our kids can't go anywhere, it really works out.
That is so great that you're connecting that with the I Survived series. That is a popular series. Wow.
So popular. I love those and the graphic novels, and they just keep pumping out more. Lauren Tarsis, I believe, is the author. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I mean, even someone like me who's not a big history buff learned about that molasses.
Yep.
What was it? The molasses flood.
The Great Molasses Flood.
Yes. I remembered one word of it.
That's good.
I had a conversation with a student about that about 4 days ago, actually. They were like, molasses flood. And I was like, have I got something to tell you? Just wait. And then I'm currently building a Chernobyl disaster field trip right now.
Great.
Okay. Jessie, so I'm making notes as you talk, and
of course,
the more that you speak, teacher librarians and school librarians, we all have obstacles, and I'm hearing the similarities, even though you definitely work in a different situation, a different physical facility, but, kids are kids. I was wondering, in your situation, what is the most important goal you have for your residents that you work with each day? Because you mentioned the timeline, the turnover, some leave. What's a goal that you have for them?
I think that my goal for the moving forward is for all of our residents and our students to cut down on recidivism, to make sure that they don't come back to the hall. Maybe they found something else to do. Perhaps they've found a love of books and they have something else to do or to fill their time, or they've found an inspirational story of somebody leaving street life, of somebody making good. I want them to be inspired. And I feel like inspiration all around, whether it's in books or fiction or nonfiction, or even just leaving and not returning to the juvenile detention facility. I feel like that's very important and a goal that I have for all of my students.
Yeah, you're definitely spreading library joy, though, just from us talking to you.
Well, and I think just you're inspiring and being that solid, caring adult that they get to see every week and share the joy of the board games and share the joy of reading with. I think it's just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's a little selfish. I think being with them does fill my cup quite a bit. I get a lot of energy. Somebody told me the other day with regard to games that I never win the games because I'm too busy teaching them and having fun watching them learn.
Right.
Like, and they're right. Because I will play with an open hand. I'll show my cards. I'll be explaining. And I never win games.
So in closing out, Jessie, can you remind our listeners how they can contact you?
Absolutely. I do have a Google site that I've been treating as my house for the last many, many years. That Google site, the short URL is tinyurl.com/ydflib, that's LIB. So tinyurl.com/ydflib. Everything on that site is a work in progress. It is a very messy room. I hope you will find treasures just like you would in everybody's messy room. And everything is available for anybody to use for free. And if anybody has questions about how to use a resource, I'm very, very happy to respond to emails. And you'll find my emails on that site, as well as any other PR that I've done, like podcasts and interviews. I feel very fancy saying that.
Well, all you have to do is just type your name into a search engine, Jessie, and you pop up in several places.
I Googled myself the other day. I was a little shocked, and I've never been so googly before.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing everything with our listeners. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk, and I'm hoping people will find some resources, or will even just want to have a conversation over virtual tea or something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We exchanged ideas. Now it's time for the recap. We have met librarians in some very unique situations.
Mm-hmm.
Jessie is so dedicated to the success of her residents, and it shows.
I wrote down that Jessie is engaging. When she described the way she dressed as Miss Frizzle or wearing panda print, panda necklaces, she described it as weird quirkiness. Her words, not mine. And, we had longer discussions with her beyond the recording, and that's just an example of showing students, really the world, what I like to call you be you. Her warmth and consistency serve those in need. And it's just a reminder, Julie, that libraries are defined by service and connection. Mm-hmm. And you said that during our conversation. It's all about building relationships, and we keep hearing that over and over.
Yep.
And she knows that she has a short window of time to make an impact, and that shapes everything she does. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go right into the board games.
Okay.
I'm going to keep talking.
Okay.
It's not just about fun. It's designed for teaching SEL skills like accountability and emotional resilience. She talked about how each game she introduces has to meet a California standard, and she mentioned the listening and speaking standards for one of the games.
Yeah, okay. Well, I loved her description of the strategy-based games. She really uses that to help with emotional resilience and growth. Mm-hmm. And when the kids have mastered a new game, they get a real sense of accomplishment. They really do have to exercise responsibility in decision-making.
So I'm going to take a moment to do a quick PSA to Julie and others who are listening, but mostly Julie. So, Julie, in board games, emotional resilience is the ability to handle frustration, setbacks, and disappointment. And Julie, it involves learning to cope with losing. So
I feel like, are you saying this to me because I'm so competitive at game night?
Well, I'm saying this to you and anyone who's listening, but mostly you. One day we'll have our whack-a-mole competition, and we can test.
Oh, you're not the universal champion.
Well, we'll test your emotional resilience. But let me get back to Jessie. It's amazing that she expanded the board game program to include her staff and probation officers, which speaks volumes about the opportunity we have as librarians to build community and share experiences with the other adults in our buildings. And it also shows that everyone really wants a screen-free break.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lastly, my tip from this episode is to think about an activity that you could do with your staff that you do with your students. A scavenger hunt, a book tasting, a wellness day, or breakout boxes. Providing this will make you more visible to your teaching staff. And if you're already visible, it'll give you a boost.
Well, in addition to building relationships, which she is very good at, I loved how she used the I Survived book series to create virtual field trips. That's a great way to promote reading and also create a quality learning experience for the students.
Yeah, that series is so popular. One thing that stuck out to me was the rule about no hardback or library binding books in her library. All the books are paperback, which we all know results in damage. She said that the turnover of books is almost as difficult as the turnover of students and residents. But without skipping a beat, she immediately complimented her incredible readers and shared their disappointment when she doesn't have the next in a series, especially manga.
So Jessie is such an inspiration to all librarians for how to connect with kids through reading, no matter what the situation is. Her library services allow her patrons to feel valued, inspired, and knowledgeable, and she really is making a difference in their lives.
Yeah, I learned a new word. It's one thing I've said about this podcast, I continue to learn. When she said her most important goal was focusing on cutting recidivism. Recidivism. I hope I look that up. But that's just
That's
like
right.
a relapse. I didn't know what that word was when after being released, a person commits another crime. But getting back to Jessie with that, it's exactly what you said. She views the library as a tool for social change and inspiration, and she doesn't want them to return, which that really touched me when she said that.
Me too. That's very powerful.
Yes. So how do you get to Jessie's Google site? Her website is tinyurl.com/YDF-LIB. So that's Youth Detention Facility and then LIB for library. And she has resources, curriculum, and if you scroll down, you're going to find a claims to fame section where you can read articles about Jessie from School Library Journal. And we look forward to you joining us later this month.
Make sure to visit our website at www.libraryexchangepodcast.com.
You'll find episode notes and links. You can even submit your questions or inspiring stories that may be featured on the podcast.
If you're looking for some swag for your library or book-loving friends, visit libraryexchange.etsy.com.
That's a lot of URLs, so I'm glad you had to say all of that, Julie.
Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode of Library Exchange.